A 28-year-old woman, a rising star in government, vanished on a cold January night. Her name was Joyce Chiang, an attorney with the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Service. Months later, her body was found in the Potomac River. She had been missing for over 12 weeks. She'd suffered a terrible fate, possibly abducted, robbed, and killed. Or so police theorized, but to this day, no one has ever been held accountable. What really happened to Joyce Chiang? It was January 9th, 1999, in Washington, D.C. Joyce had been out with a coworker for dinner and a movie. Around 8:30 p.m., her friend dropped her off at the corner of Connecticut and R Street Northwest, right by a busy Starbucks. Joyce had said she wanted a cup of tea before heading home to her apartment just a few blocks away. That's the last time anyone would see her alive. Joyce didn't return home that night, but her younger brother Roger, who lived with her, didn't think much of it at first. She'd been under the weather, so maybe she stayed at a friend's place. It wasn't until Monday, when she failed to show up at work, that alarm bells rang. Joyce was disciplined, reliable, and deeply committed to her job. Missing work without calling? Unthinkable. By Tuesday, Roger was on the phone with police and the FBI, reporting his sister missing. Because she was a federal employee, the FBI got involved immediately. Investigators quickly learned Joyce had been active the day she disappeared. A timeline was pieced together. Her green jacket, black turtleneck, jeans, and red scarf were last seen on her at 8:30 p.m. But employees at the Starbucks couldn't recall seeing her. The store didn't have usable security footage. Her pager was left at home, except for one call. It had received a page from a payphone at a hotel near Dulles Airport. That, too, led nowhere. Then came the first clue. Joyce's wallet was found on January 10th, a day after she vanished. A jogger stumbled across it near the banks of the Anacostia River, far from where she was last seen. Inside were her ID and an expired credit card, but her debit card was missing. Police began searching the massive area surrounding the river. On January 21st, more of her belongings were found. Her green jacket, gloves, keys, and store cards, all near a naval station by the water. Still, there was no sign of Joyce. Then came a gruesome twist. A body was pulled from the river, but it was a man's. Days of combing the area turned up nothing more. Meanwhile, the FBI combed Joyce's belongings for DNA. They found hairs, 2 that didn't belong to Joyce. One came from a white person, another from a black person. Investigators said they now believed Joyce didn't leave voluntarily. She was taken and possibly killed. The case went cold until March 31st, 1999. A woman in Fairfax, Virginia, heard shouting from outside her home. A canoeist had discovered a body washed up along the Potomac River's edge. It was a woman dressed in jeans and a black turtleneck, badly decomposed, but matching Joyce's height and weight. Later, inside her sock, investigators found her missing debit card. DNA and dental records confirmed it. Joyce Chiang had been found, but there was a problem. They couldn't determine how she died. There were no obvious signs of trauma, no bullets, no stab wounds, not even a conclusive sign of drowning. Her cause of death? Officially, undetermined. This left authorities scrambling. Was it foul play? Suicide? An accident? The FBI floated the theory that Joyce may have taken her own life. She was under an internal investigation at work and had a stressful interview scheduled for the week after she disappeared. Her jacket was found near a bridge known for suicides, but her family adamantly rejected the idea. Joyce was upbeat, they said. She hadn't left a note. And why go so far from home, with no car, into a remote and dangerous area? Then things got stranger. A Starbucks employee eventually told police he'd seen Joyce that night, chatting for over an hour with a woman with blonde hair. A composite sketch was drawn, but never released. To this day, the identity of that woman remains unknown. The FBI also looked at Joyce's brother Roger. He had waited 2 days before reporting her missing. He took a polygraph, which came back inconclusive. Still, he was never named a suspect. Years passed with little progress. Then, in 2001, another woman, Chandra Levy, went missing in D.C. Like Joyce, she was a young congressional intern from California. She lived in DuPont Circle, had dark hair, brown eyes, and stood 5'3". Her disappearance made national headlines. And suddenly, reporters began comparing her case to Joyce's, and to another little-known case from 1998. That victim was Christine Mirzayan, also from California, also working in D.C. She, too, had dark hair and a background in government. She had been sexually assaulted and bludgeoned to death just months before Joyce disappeared. 3 women. 3 eerily similar stories. Yet police maintained the cases were unrelated. For years, Joyce's case languished. Her family never stopped pushing for answers. Her brother Roger publicly criticized the handling of the investigation. He hung posters, gave interviews, and even later worked for America's Most Wanted. But it wasn't until 2011, 12 years after her disappearance, that police finally declared her death a homicide. They revealed new information. 3 men had abducted Joyce from DuPont Circle and taken her to the river to rob her. 2 of the suspects had already been arrested in 1999 for abducting another woman from near the same area. One of them, Steve Allen, was already serving a life sentence. The other, Neil Joaquin, had fled to Guyana. Police believed Joyce may have fallen or been pushed into the icy water as she tried to escape. And yet, no charges were filed. Authorities said they lacked the evidence for a conviction. The case was closed. After 12 years of mystery, Joyce's family was told they'd never see justice in court. It felt like the end. Some still believe Joyce's death was part of a larger pattern. Some think a serial predator stalked the streets of D.C. Others still cling to the official theory, a robbery gone wrong. But one thing is clear: Joyce Chiang's story didn't get the attention it deserved. While the nation obsessed over Chandra Levy, Joyce's disappearance received only brief local coverage. Even Christine Mirzayan's case barely made the news until years later. What truly happened on that cold January night in 1999? Who was the blonde woman at Starbucks? Why did it take so long to connect the dots? And will there ever be real justice for Joyce? If you liked the video, please press the like button and subscribe, and check out other videos on our channel. We've got a lot of other stories about murders that are not resolved to this day.